Hi, everybody. This is Mr. Composition, an MC that writes fiction, and you're now tuned into another episode of the Composition Chronicles of Self Awareness. And today's guest, we have Shavana with drum roll, the healing touch. And what this is an intuitive massage therapy business. And so, Shavana, how are you doing today?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. And so, just to let the people know a little bit about you, introduce yourself and what exactly is the healing touch?
Okay, so like he said, my name is Shavana. I am originally from Toronto, Canada, but I've been in the States for most of my life. I've been in San Antonio for about 15 years, so this is pretty much home for me. The Healing Touch is my massage business. I consider myself to be an intuitive massage therapist. And so the Healing Touch, that's kind of self explanatory. I don't know. What else do you want me to include in that?
That's perfect. And so the intuitive massage there. So when I saw that, I've seen, massage therapy in general, knew a couple of friends that do it, but intuitive massage therapy, what makes that different than just regular massage therapy?
I want to start off by saying I'm not just intuitive. I think it's important to understand the energetic body and energy in general and the spiritual aspect of a person, but I also think it's important to understand like the science, meaning like the muscles and how everything is interconnected. So even though I call myself intuitive because that's kind of what I'm drawn to, what I'm good at, I also think it's important to integrate the science so that you don't hurt anybody, so that you can actually provide, you know, real relief. And so I consider myself to be intuitive because a person will come in or I'll go to their home and I'll say, hey, what's going on? What can I help you with? And they'll tell me, oh, my upper back is hurting or my lower back is hurting. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's a starting point. But then I'm assessing what is their energy like? How are they presenting emotionally? Do they seem kind of like, somber, kind of depressed? Are they like high, kind of anxious? I'm like really observing like the emotional and the energetic aspect of this person. And a lot of times when people get on the table, because we hold energy and trauma in our body and in our tissue, a lot of time it's very common for people to just start venting and start talking about things that are traumatic for them. I just had a gentleman yesterday and he came in and he was just very like anxious, barely making eye contact, moving very fast. So I'm like, okay, like, I'm going to utilize a lot of heat to maybe calm him down, to bring him into the present. So I'm going to utilize hot towels. I'm going to utilize slow, rhythmic techniques. This is going to be very relaxing because he seems like an anxious person. I get into the massage. He ends up revealing to me that he's going through a divorce with someone who he's been with for 15 years and he hasn't been sleeping. And so in school, they're always pressing, stay in your scope of practice, stay in your scope of practice. But I feel like if you're not addressing the energetic body in addition to the physiological body, like you're only addressing one aspect of the body. And so I am quite intuitive. And so when someone comes in with a physical ailment, I always know that there's something deeper happening. I don't probe them. I meet people where they're at. And when they're ready, they will release. And my job is to allow the spirit to be heard because sometimes that is what people need. I created the Healing Touch so that I could provide a safe space for people to not just experience like the physical relief of massage therapy, but also the mental, emotional, spiritual, and just kind of be that person. I'm not a psychologist. I don't give them advice per se, but I listen and allow them to be heard. And then also integrate whatever techniques or tools, whether it be hot stones, cupping, essential oils to kind of amplify that healing experience based on what I observe and what they tell me.
No, that's super legit. And one of the things that you said that was very interesting as far as in regards to not just healing, in general with massage therapy, but just healing in general, which is a lot of the times we may think that the issue is what we think that it is. But a lot of times that, like you said, is the starting point. A lot of times the healing goes a lot deeper than what we think on the surface level. Like we may think that we're stressed because of X, Y, and Z. There's bills or, some random stuff, but the root of it, because you start recognizing patterns. And I think I'm not a massage therapist, but I just imagine as far as because you brought up science. So when you think about things that in regards to the body and certain patterns that either will accelerate or decelerate as far as growth, whether that can be something that ends up being a dis-ease or, some type of things like that. Some of those issues are treated physically, but then when those things don't work, you have as far as the spiritual aspect of things, which works hand in hand. A lot of it is, that's why I thought I was intrigued by the word intuitive due to the fact that a lot of times it is in you specifying as far as the other aspect, which is a lot of people, they will be in this either or, both. Either they're so science that they forget that the other part of life is the what you can't explain,
Yeah.
or you'll be so in the unexplainable and on
Yeah.
faith, that you're not rooted in reality, and you end up bypassing a lot of stuff that can harm you just out of practicality. And so, what got you into this particular practice? Because when it comes to healers, of course, we can go into all different types of fields, but specifically this one, did you have as far as any type of lineage of that, or where did massage therapy come from for you?
Let me tell you, I do feel like I've done this in a past life where I feel like somewhere in my lineage, massage therapy was a thing. I don't have proof, but I always tell people, because people are always like, so how long have you been doing this? And my default response is, well, professionally a year, but I feel like I've done this in another lifetime. It just feels like I've been doing it for a minute. But to answer your question, I came into this career field by way of my own personal experience. Now, prior to this experience of receiving a massage, I have had massages, but they were always kind of just, I got a massage. I feel fine. But this particular day, like I remember walking into the spa feeling like just all this heaviness, mentally, emotionally depressed. And I remember walking out of the spa feeling like this man lifted my pain away from me. And I was like blown away. And that's when it really clicked how beneficial massage therapy is. Another point to that is sometimes you're not going to experience the full benefits until you find a therapist that you resonate with. So, like I said prior to that, I have had massages, but this particular therapist, like whatever he did, lifted that weight off my shoulders. And so I always say massage therapy is not going to cure you of all your problems, but what it will do and what it did for me is provide you physical, mental, emotional relief so that when you enter into the world, you can do so with more ease and more clarity. And that's the goal. I mean, problems are going to arise regardless. But if we can face those problems and those trials and tribulations with more calm and more ease, we're less likely to respond, and we're more likely to, react. We're more likely to respond, from a place of just being centered and aware.
Oh yeah, definitely. You had brought up as far as prior to being here, you're in Canada. Now,
Yeah.
for the people that don't know and that may or may not see as far as your shirt, the Bob Marley shirt, and
Yeah.
I had some reggae,
What up?
playing as far as prior to you coming in. But let the people know as far as what is your island roots background when it comes to the islands.
So, like I said, I was born in Canada. I'm Canadian, but I am of Jamaican descent. So, what that means is my father was born and raised in Jamaica. My mother is also Canadian, but both of her parents are both born and raised in Jamaica. So, I do come from, a Caribbean household and lineage.
Now, the only reason I bring that up is because we're talking about healing. We're talking about massage therapy and as far as intuitive healing and different things like that. Now, when it comes to as far as your work, how important is music or sounds in your field as far as when it comes to massage therapy?
It's actually incredibly important. It's one of my favorite parts of working for myself, having creative control. Because, there's been times where I'm working somewhere and I'm like, what is this music? Like, this vibe is just not it. So I do appreciate the opportunity to bring the vibe. I have different playlists that I have selected each song, strategically for different vibes. So, if I'm doing a mobile session, again, intuitively, I'll assess the person and I'll select a playlist based on what I'm observing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So every playlist is meant for optimal healing. I even have, an R&B playlist, and every song, it has to have like a healing kind of vibe to it. You'd be surprised. It's incredibly difficult to make a R&B album that isn't sexual, so, or suggestive. So there's that. But music and healing sounds it's like a huge element in the whole experience.
Now, you brought up something which I wouldn't say classic, but it's the blurring, not blurring, but understanding as far as the boundaries when it comes to, touch. So when a lot of people hear something like massage therapy and touch, instantly you think of something like arousal and different things like that, whether you're a man or a woman. And so when it comes to as far as your field and being able to explore not sexuality, but sensuality in the form of healing and finding as far as those particular vibes and being able to keep that professional as far as within that. What have you learned as far as what in your field and going to school for massage therapy and in your healing journey, how has that helped as far as understanding those other levels of interaction between people that goes beyond sexual, but on a healing or, different level like that?
So I like that you asked me this. This is a very good question. Arousal is not good or bad. It just is what it is. It's about how you respond to those very natural emotions. You know what I'm saying? So I will say being in this field has taught me how to set boundaries because as a lady, it's imperative that I set boundaries and that I let people know, hey, this ain't what you saw on Instagram, none of that. And so there are a lot of stigmas behind massage therapy. And so it is my duty to be professional and, show up in the most professional manner from the way that I speak, the way that I dress, the way that I engage. And you can pick up on people that are kind of wanting to test you or be inappropriate. But going back to being intuitive and being a firm believer in energy, I put the energy out there that I am a professional massage therapist. So the energy that I receive back is not going to be anything other than, respect. And so if it is, I have no issue with not serving those people because, I'm not going to put myself in a compromising situation, but in short, boundaries is key, and just showing up professional, engaging in a professional manner. Like people get the vibe.
And so, like, since, taking on this journey, what have you personally learned when it comes to the body, and even nurturing your own body when it comes to touch, whether that's giving yourself little foot massages, or whether that may be, as far as, because what we do as far as for other people when it comes to healing, it's a reflection of what we do as far as ourselves. And so what has been that healing journey and understanding your body since embarking on this journey of massage therapy?
So being in this field has really taught me how to be more mindful of my own well-being. I do hold myself accountable a lot because I don't feel like I can go out there and serve people if I'm not doing helping myself first. So that looks like just a ton of self-care. That looks like getting my massages regularly, making sure that I'm doing yoga daily to keep my body agile and healthy, making sure that I'm cleansing myself between clients, whether that be going into nature or meditating or, taking a shower, eating. I don't eat perfectly, but just eating mindfully, you know what I'm saying? Staying hydrated so that, when I'm talking to clients and trying to encourage them to come back to me or encourage them to stretch or encourage them to meditate, I'm actually leading by example because I'm doing those things. So I would say that it's taught me to be more health conscious within myself and to take, really good care of myself.
Oh yeah. And so, that's one of the good things as far as when finding out these different healing measures and finding one, because we use multiple, but finding as far as, ones that are specific to you, and that way you can be able to, give people what it is that they need, which a lot of times is also, I think, in a lot of times in these professions, we help teach people also the type of boundaries within just their interactions with other people.
Mhm.
There's so long we get caught up in social media and how things appear to be. And then when you look behind the scenes, so it can appear that, this relationship is amazing, but then those two behind the scenes and you're just all like, it's not really like that, or you'll
Yeah,
see,
facts.
people that appear to be, a certain way. So these appearances, I think that the healing is so important with understanding perception and what goes beyond these appearances. We hear the phrase all the time, don't judge a book by its cover. In social media world, though, it's like we completely do that. We
Mhm.
completely judge as far as this appearance by what it appears to be. And so within this pandemic, and everything that's been going on with this, how have you been able to apply not just self-care to yourself, but be able to help give hope to people, because people don't even understand fully what to do, what's going on, how to even do. And I feel like, practices like, massage therapy is going to be but number, one thing right now with so many people that are depressed, anxious. People are transitioning from working in around people to working at home, so they may not be used to sitting for long periods of time. So now they're experiencing pains that they may never even had the experience before. So how have you been able to help give hope to people during this time?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Hmm. I think, again, going back to holding myself accountable. So, right after I got done with massage therapy school, I went through a yoga teacher training program. And in that program, I learned about the history of yoga. I learned about what yoga was and how to utilize yoga as a healing mechanism for myself. I also learned how to meditate through that program. So it's just so crazy that the pandemic, like everything happened in such an interesting way that I felt like I was being prepared for that moment. And so I went through this training program and learned how to center myself. So when the pandemic hit and everybody was losing their shit, I was in nature meditating because I was like, look, energy's crazy right now. I need to make sure that I go someplace where I can just be in solitude and think straight and clearly. And so I think because I learned those tools and how to apply them for myself, when I show up in my work, I'm really just being present. I meet people where they are. If they're going through something, I let them talk. I try to encourage people, uplift people, empower people. I let them know, like, hey, you're okay with what you're doing, but have you heard of meditation? The gentleman that I worked with yesterday, older Black guy, like I said, very anxious. He's going through a separation. I said, hey, have you heard about meditation? Nah. Okay, this is what it is, and this is how it's going to help you. And so I think, again, by me holding myself accountable and by me doing these things, I can then share them with people. Also, with me holding myself accountable, I can show up and be present and not just do the massage, but really be present with this person that's coming for healing. And so, just to kind of summarize that, by doing the work on myself, I can really be of service to others and also suggest some of the tools that have worked for me and let people know, specifically African American people, the people that may have not been introduced to certain healing modalities. I can let them know yoga is for everybody. Meditation is for everybody. Nature is for everybody. And because I do these things and I'm in this body and they see me, I can lead by example and then share and say, hey, you can do this also. And so that's pretty much.
I think it's very important. You brought up something as far as the older Black gentleman. And one of the things within, our community, the Black community, something like massage therapy and meditation, and like, one of my healing methods is I do tarot readings for people. A lot of these things, you go to the hood, it's just like, man, I ain't about to eat no broccoli and, meditate. Go to the nature
Vegan.
like that, but it's
Yeah.
interesting for that. I find that it's so important, like more than pretty much any other, everyone, but especially for our people, because it's just all like, when I hear that after doing my work and doing research, it's just all like, but you created it. Like it's just all like, where do you think meditation, where do you think yoga, where do you think as far as these healing things originated from? And it's just all like, when you look at as far as like the different hieroglyphs on Egyptian temples, and you see the yoga poses or the martial
Mhm.
art poses and different things like that. And then, a lot of people, in our community, which can use it.
Yeah.
It's looking at something like meditation. Like when I had lost 100 pounds, that was sheerly through not eating meat, yoga, meditation, and jogging. Like that wasn't no extra, bodybuilder, look at these gains, son. Like it wasn't any of that. It was just literally, going through and just taking that time, because we don't realize like how often and how much we're not centered, that we're not even dealing with our own energy. And you wouldn't know that when you're around chaos, which a lot of us, in those situations are, surrounded by chaos. And it's not to say that you're going to get rid of chaos, but it's to say that, oh, there is peace in chaos. There is a way as far as the cut through all of that, and through meditation, through yoga, because it's, whether you want to call it yoga or you want to say stretch, it's either way, you need it in your life daily, just for regular things, understanding the way that your body works and how it accumulates energy over time. How, you can be feeling very heavy, and it's just all like, oh, if you would have stretched, or you would have went outside and got some sunlight, you would understand how the basics of the body works, which is, hey, if you're in a period, if you're in a spot for long periods of time, you have these thoughts going on that's creating a particular energy field, and that from the non-physical can become very, very physical, and you'll be able to
Really.
see it, on their face, on the way that they carry themselves and different things like that. And so, how important is it as far as for you to get this information to people of color who might have just been completely unaware of a lot of these practices, or showing them that this isn't a color thing, this isn't a quote unquote white thing, or a quote unquote,
Yeah.
how is it that, how do you, express that to your clients?
Mm. I am open to working with whoever resonates with me, but I particularly enjoy working with the Black demographic because that there's resonance there and there's work to be done. You asked how important it is for me to get this information. It's important, but then it isn't. And I say it isn't because I'm not a pushy person. Everybody is on their own journey, and it's not about pushing an agenda or a message, it's about resonance. So if you come into my business, and we end up having a conversation, everything is flowing very organically, and you're telling me you're having these problems, I will suggest, hey, have you considered doing yoga? I had a client the other day, he has a hard time sleeping because he has PTSD issues from being in the military. I said, hey, have you considered yoga? It'll help you relax. It'll help you, wind down at the end of the day. He was very receptive. Yeah, a lot of people have been telling me about that. Great. I have a great studio I can recommend for you. This is, I know the owners. This is how they do things. Like, I've been there. And so I enjoy giving the information to people who are receptive to it. I will never, ever force information onto people because that might not be their journey. My journey, just because yoga and meditation works for me and it resonates with me, and I like to sit in nature and breathe in that Garas prana, doesn't mean somebody else is going to be ready for that or even be interested in it. So it's important for me to give back in a way that aligns with my soul self, but it's not important to the point where I feel like I have to go out and like push this message.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And
Uh,
that's
yeah.
dope because, that gentleman that came to you, just even the fact that he came to you to get massage therapy in itself, I feel like is such a great stepping stone in itself, because especially for, you hear a lot of stuff about older Black gentlemen, being like very rigid, and stuck in their ways and stuff. So I always think that it's
Yeah.
dope to hear, like someone taking that extra initiative, because it's something, different.
But
And
let's talk about why they are the way they are, because they were probably told at one point in their life that being emotional is wrong. Your job as a man is to work and provide. And so, me providing a safe space for not just women, not just men, but for all people, allowing them to just show up as their authentic selves. If they happen to be vulnerable, cool. But that I don't feel like that anybody is born that way. That is a conditioning, you know what I'm saying? And it's about being able to feel safe enough to just say what you want to say, be who you want to be. And I do my best to provide that. Also, with the healing touch, I take my time with my clients. I worked at a chain one time and it wasn't sustainable for me because it's like I was literally doing massage back to back to back to back to the point where I felt disconnected from the client. I couldn't engage with them from a human to human standpoint because everything was just so fast paced and about the money.
yeah,
And I wasn't with that. I mean, I only lasted a few months there and I felt like I was getting burnt out. So the way that I work, I allow myself enough time between clients so that I don't feel burnt out. And I spend that quality time with them so that I'm not rushing them, so that I can give them the opportunity to get whatever they need to get off their chest, within that allotted time frame.
Oh yeah, and I think that that's an important aspect of healing in general. It's just all like working, call centers. It's just all like getting those back-to-back calls and not having that time just for yourself. That's like the main thing is having that time to take a breath. How can you possibly show up for anybody when you don't take that time to be able to understand what your energy and that way you can come being fully present. I think about that in the healing journey a lot, so often. And I think that's what this pandemic showed people. It's just all like I had made this IG video earlier and it was, does nature struggle? And there was four words that popped up in my head, and that was nature, nurture, freedom, and struggle. And it's just all like whenever we're going against, what's natural, what's nature, there's this automatic struggle. And struggle in itself is the opposite of freedom because it literally, by definition, is restricting that freedom. And so it's just all like when I see, like you had mentioned, as far as why, they're the way that they are. And it's just like, that's not nature. And there's
Mm,
struggle that goes on because of that. It's not natural for anyone, whether male or female, to feel like they can't express themselves. Thus comes a struggle.
right.
It's not natural as far as, a single parent, thus here comes a struggle. And so when I started thinking about these different things, because it's just all like when we go through our day to day, we say we want freedom a lot of times, and then we put ourselves in this struggle by thought patterns, And so I feel like this pandemic allowed for people to sit and have that
Yeah.
time to be able to be like, oh, let me actually sit with these thoughts. Oh, these thoughts happen regardless. Oh, okay, let me go ahead and, accept that for a little bit. Let me find out what it is that I actually have been ignoring because of that fast pace. And
Yeah.
we've seen literally the world burn out because of that fast pacedness. So it's interesting when you brought that up as far as having that space in between, because it's important. Like I don't do back-to-back tarot readings for that same reason. It's just all like I just literally was here and got your energy and everything like that. Why would I take that to the next client? And why would I personally sit with that and not do anything to, detox and cleanse myself to be
Mhm.
prepared as far as for the next thing? And
Yeah.
so,
Definitely. Another thing I want to touch on is I feel like massage therapy is one of those things you cannot value until you physically experience a massage. And so specifically in our community, there's this stigma that it's a luxury, and you could look at it that way. I prefer the term investment. I like to say when you invest in yourself, the return on said investment is far greater than what you could imagine. And that's what I personally experienced. And so it's about investing in yourself. It's not for wealthy people, it's not for a certain type of people. This work is for everybody. And so, that being said, I offer a really great introductory rate of $55.55, because I want people to see that and be like, damn, that's a good price. And I want them to experience the benefits of a massage, and then once they get that experience, then they have the knowledge, then they have the awareness of what it is. And they're not just thinking, oh, that's not for me because I can't afford that. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
then they make the effort to invest in that massage because they're like, oh my goodness, I feel looser. I feel more mobile. I feel lighter. I sleep better. I'm less stressed. I'm less anxious.
Yeah, and where is it? So let's say someone wants to go ahead and book as far as a session with you. Where do they go? What is the process like for someone?
So I have a Facebook and an Instagram. My Facebook is double underscore the healing touch, all one word. And my Facebook is just the healing touch. So the space healing space touch, the healing touch. So I have online booking available. So you can do it via social media. Sometimes people will DM me, and I'm really good about responding very promptly, and just engaging with people and educating them. But basically, they would book online.
Okay, awesome. And so what I'll do is I'll make sure I have that showing up on the screen for when people view that. And so one of the last few questions I want to ask is, so going in this, this new decade, this new, all like possibilities are all out there. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to personally and as a business moving forward?
Mm, that's a good question. I'm going to be very transparent. I'm not like a 5 year planner, 10-year planner. I'm more of like a day by day. So even like yesterday, you said something about planning for the month of May. I was like, he plans for the whole month? Like, my brain just doesn't work that way. But, just more prosperity, in terms of my business for myself, and just more peace. I find that the more that I heal myself and release limited beliefs and anything blocking my blessings, the more prosperity comes. So I feel like my priority is just healing myself, and then everything else is everything else.
Yeah, no, that works super. See, me, I'm like a Capricorn Sun, Virgo Moon, so I'm just like instantly planning out 100 years
Yeah.
into the future by default. That's just like my playground. I'm just all like, ooh, let me see what
Yeah.
do there. But one of the things, like we were mentioning before, as far as the intuitive and the practical aspect of things, that's where I find a lot of my balance by being able to relax in the day to day. Sometimes it's difficult because I'm just all like, I got all this stuff planned out, but then it's just all like there's that balance, especially working for yourself. Like for me, this is going on my 5th year. And so I didn't realize and I didn't know that a majority of that time was you just detoxing the
Mm,
9 to 5, the way of doing things, and not that it's all bad. It's that, now you get to create these systems, for yourself and you get to pick as
yes.
far as your time. And it's just all like, all right, so finding that balance, but that's where self-care goes into play. That's where taking that time out. Like, I give readings, but I do readings on myself almost every day just because it's like, all right, this is what I do to center myself. This is how I dive into my divine, feminine energy. So that way I can be more into that intuitive side because I am super logical. I am super in my, left brain with a lot of things, but, my creativity, my healing journey allows me to balance that out. And I tell that with people, when they do CBD as well, because so many people they're used to THC, and I always describe the two as left and right brain. It's just all like, THC is like the feminine, it is the abstract, it is the creation, it is everything like that. And CBD, I was just all like, this is gonna be more of the left brain, this is more of the like, you know, like let's get this done, or let's
Mhm.
just be in presently here and not anxious about everything else. And so it's really dope as far as the healing journey in general. And so just before we get out of here, as far as me hitting the end on the record, What's some last minute things and advice that you want to give to those listening who, are curious about massage therapy and or just, feeling like, man, I don't know what to do with with my life, with, just with anything, what advice would you give to those people?
Well, I will first say that massage therapy is a wonderful healing tool. It works great with other therapies, like if you're in talk therapy, if you're seeing a chiropractor, or any other medical professional, it works really well with those other practices. It's not only great for your physical health, but also your mental, emotional, and spiritual. So that's something to consider if you're ever interested in diving into some body work. Now, as far as advice, feeling stuck or not knowing what to do with your life, that is 100% okay. And more than likely, that is a sign that you probably just need to sit down and be with yourself and be still. If you're feeling stuck or depressed or anxious, your spirit is not in alignment with whatever it is that you're doing. And so when you experience those feelings, that's a sign to, sit in nature, take a step back from the matrix and just figure out, what is it that I want? What is it that is calling, what is it that, I want, on a soul level for my life? And just know that it's okay to feel that way. We all experience those feelings and it's okay. The answers will come, as long as you're actively saying to the universe, to God, creator, whoever, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. Those answers will come, but you've got to be receptive. And the only way to be receptive is for you to be still. So, know that everything is okay. And if you're going through something right now, it's just a moment. It will pass.
This soon shall pass. Yes, indeed. But yes, everybody, this has been another episode of the Composition Chronicles of Self Awareness. Thank my special guest, Shavana, with the healing touch, for being the guest today. And for all y'all listening in, her information will be on the description of the video or this podcast, so you can follow her and make sure to book your session. And again, this is Miss Composition MC that writes fiction. Peace. Coming back to earth with a couple gems of wisdom that might take a few decades to decode. So I better get the work on. No need for second guessing, cause it was already written, or was it? Is it all predetermined or devised by your hand? No need for second guessing when you're sticking to the plan. No need for second guessing when you're sticking to the plan. Is it all predetermined or devised by your hand? No need for second guessing when you're sticking to the plan. No need for second guessing when you're sticking to the plan. Take control of what you can't control.